What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to another edition of House Divided. It's not divided today. It's just one side. It's me, Chad Hastings. I'm not that guy. Chad Hastings, is on vacation. I even forgot where he went. He might be in the state of Oklahoma, which isn't the place I'd want to go to for a spring break. But, I can neither confirm nor deny that. I'm Jeff Ketchum. I'm going to be with you for, the next hour-ish or so. Do me a solid, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, get notifications, smash all of those buttons. I've got a lot of stuff to get into today. And yes, by God, we will play the Portal Combat theme for the first time in what feels like forever, because we start out with some Portal Combat. But before we do that, thanks to everybody in the Specs chat. I've got the chat up on the screen today. I'm following Alex Dunlap's lead on the whole, if you're going to do a solo show, you might as well put the comments up on the screen. That way I don't have to try to look for them. Anyway, well, let's see. We did the whole like, subscribe, notification thing. I've mentioned Chad's on vacation. I said my name. We talked about the Specs chat. You know what time it is? You're damn right you know what time it is.
Fight! Get over here! Finish him!
It'd been too long since we played the Portal Combat theme. And I thought, you know what, while I'm doing a show today solo, let's lean back into the Portal Combat theme. Let's talk about the portal. Let's talk about the Longhorns and defensive tackles, and whether or not when spring football is over, the Longhorns will be back looking into the portal for somebody to beef up that defensive tackle position. So there's a couple of different ways to look at this. Let's start with something that I reported last week in the war room over at orangebloods.com. And that was somebody mentioning to me that as it relates to the defensive tackle position, there's a gigantic wait and see approach. I get the sense that going into spring football, you got a new defensive line coach in Kenny Baker. Everybody gets a fresh start. Nobody is so cemented that they just have a job. I think we think that that's who Alfred Collins is, but he's not so proven that he couldn't be upgraded. So they're going to go into spring football. The source that I was talking to did not want to list a single standout amongst the defensive tackles from the offseason, while there were certainly some guys at end and edge that he was willing to give some love to. As it relates to getting better there, he indicated to me that there was still talent evaluation and potentially some acquisition that could still take place. So it's on the table. The Longhorns might be over the 85-man limit. They will need some attrition after spring football to get to the 85-man number that they'll need to get to in August. If I'm not mistaken, they're at 89 right now. They'll need to get to 85, which means at least 4 dudes from this spring football workouts will have to depart when the spring's over, either through their own will or maybe a conversation has to take place. I don't know. But we know that they got to get a little bit under the cap. But I get the sense that it's not automatic that they're going to go into the portal. I think they want to see what this thing looks like in April. I think they want to see Vernon Broughton. They want to see Alfred Collins. They want to see the new guy from Arizona. They want to see what Alex January can do. They want to see Kenny Baker wants to do his evaluation. And when this thing is over with, if they need to go out into the portal, I think they will. Now, one thing that's interesting to me that goes along with all of this, and I will report on some of this in the war room tomorrow night at orangebloods.com, but I have mentioned that I know of a starting defensive tackle, nose tackle, in a Power 5 conference is considering to enter the portal like in a month from now when the portal opens up. And it's not yet official. In fact, I got a message from someone who very much knows the inner workings of this kid's situation, this young man's situation. And he's meeting with coaches, and he's got his own spring football coming up. And it is a little bit of a delicate situation, but it's a possibility. And the way these things work, schools have a way of letting guys know, hey, hearing through the grapevine, this might be going down. FYI, we might have an interest. I was hearing back in January, December, November even, that, however these things happen, there was a sense, an idea, if you will, that if this kid were to enter the portal, the Longhorns might have an interest. Among the schools that I've heard might have an interest in this young man, a couple of Big Ten, probable top 20 type teams, SEC, Big 12. The word's kind of out behind the scenes that this guy might enter the portal. He has an idea, from what I've been told, of some of the schools that might have an interest in him. Bo Davis departure, I think there was some thought that, I don't know the specifics of how this particular family and guy would know who's interested in him. But there was a thought that Texas was interested in him. That seems to have gone lukewarm, not lukewarm, in the sense that I'm just told it's real quiet. And I think this goes back. I think this whole discussion of this one defensive tackle that I know of who starts for a Power 5 program might enter the portal in a month from now. And there are schools that he is, from what I'm hearing, indirectly hearing from. Texas is not one of them. However those things happen, right? Like, hey, somebody told somebody that they would be interested. Okay, I don't know. Maybe that's how it happens. It's like a big old telephone game. But there is thought that he has an idea of some schools that would be interested if he entered the portal. And I'm hearing that there's uncertainty as it relates to Texas. Again, as it relates to the portal, I think it's possible, but it's certainly not a slam dunk. And I think the situation that I've kind of outlined that I really can't give any more specifics to, I think it kind of outlines that. It seemed a lot more certain just a couple of months ago. It seems less certain right now. I think we'll have a better idea after spring football. But if they come out and they feel like, oh man, Broughton found the light switch, Collins found the light switch, everything, we feel like we're 5 deep. And then the other element is like, who knows? Maybe there's not a starting nose tackle. Maybe the kids at Michigan just don't want to enter the portal. There will be guys that enter the portal. The ones that typically don't are defensive linemen. And I was talking with somebody involved with NIL, I don't know, it was like 4 months ago, approximately. We were talking about this very thing. And he said the thing about defensive linemen, one of the reasons why they don't enter the portal is because the NFL will find them. That there are so many guys that enter the portal thinking about the NFL. I need a better platform. I need to definitely start. I need, whatever that need might be. Maybe you're playing at a lower level school and you feel like you need a better platform. So you go to a higher school, or maybe you're non-Power 5, whatever. I just lost my train of thought there for a second. Forgive me. We were talking about the defensive lineman, and he was just saying they don't enter the portal because they don't have to. These guys, the one position that can pretty much just play at any level in the country, and if you're good, the NFL won't care, is defensive line. So those guys don't really transfer. And the schools that have the big-time guys make sure those guys, if anybody's taken care of in NIL, it'll be the quarterback, and it'll be like big guys up front. Simple as that. Simple as that. So it's a lot of times it's hard when Bear Alexander entered the portal a year ago from Georgia and went to USC, and those guys just aren't entering the portal left and right. So we'll see what happens. But I know that what once seemed like a strong likelihood is a little more lukewarm today, just based on putting pieces of the pie together, the puzzle together, with kind of indirect stories and implications and things like that related to this conversation that I picked up on over the course of the last week or so. All right. Now, look, something happened today on the recruiting front for the Longhorns that I think is really interesting. It involves a 5-star prospect and a guy that a lot of people think Texas is going to get. There had been conversations over the past week coming out of this weekend that another school had taken the lead from Texas, and then something happened today that may have changed all of that. So we're going to get into that next. But first, the people at Specs just want to remind you of a few things.
You're needing Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
All right. So this one surprised me when I saw it earlier today. Let's just lay out the conversation. Modern day running back Jordan Davidson. He's visited the Longhorns so many times that when Jason Sukamel most recently talked to Jordan, he said, how many times have you visited Texas? He's lost count. He's like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. So it's really between Texas and Ohio State for Davidson. And I have felt so confident that Davidson would end up at Texas that I put in a future cast for the Longhorns. That's my prediction of where he goes. However, there has been some Ohio State buzz, and he's got an unofficial visit set to Ohio State coming up in April, maybe even March. I need to double check exactly when that date is, but it's upcoming. And the thought process has been, if you listen to people in California and you listen to national people, there's been some Ohio State buzz. Coming out of this weekend, Rivals.com had its first Rivals Camp Series out in LA. Davidson was there. And Davidson is a guy that has a very good relationship with the higher-ups at Rivals. Remember a year ago when Ryan Wingo and 24/7 were just locked at the hip and they ended up getting the announcement and, Wilt Fong was like all over that. And I told people then, like, hey, pay attention to what comes out of 24/7. Pay attention to Wilt Fong. It's clear he's got an in with the family. He's got a direct contact. His info's good on this. I told people that, like, hey. And it was no accident that 24/7 got that announcement, that they were able to broadcast that announcement on their platform. Rivals got a pretty good relationship with Jordan Davidson. That's all out. Look, that's all I'll tell you. Our main guy, Adam Gorney, who I know a lot of you hate. I didn't like the Arch Manning article. I thought it was kind of weak, if I'm being completely honest. But Adam's good at his job, that column notwithstanding. And he's out in California, and he knows Jordan Davidson, and presumably his family. And this past weekend, Davidson was at the Rivals Camp Series. He'll go to the Rivals National event this summer as well. He and Rivals have a real good relationship. Our national guys came out of this weekend in which they spent time with Jordan Davidson, and they were saying, you know what? It's definitely Texas and Ohio State. I think Ohio State may have moved ahead by the slightest of margins. Now, I've had Texas fans today on Orange Bloods. Oh, God, are you crazy? No. One guy was like, that's bullshit. Like, hey, It's not saying that the kid's going to Ohio State. It's not. It's saying that right now, before he does unofficial visits, which are before the official visits, at this snapshot in time, there's some thought that Ohio State might have taken a little bit of a lead on Texas. No reason to overreact. These things happen. There's also no reason, though, to completely ignore it. The kid worships Zeke Elliott. Like, he thinks he's like a mini Zeke. So don't dismiss Ohio State as a possibility. However, today, something happened that I think could completely change the recruitment of Jordan Davidson in nothing but good ways for Texas. If you missed it, and this happened less than 2 hours ago, it was about an hour and a half ago, Ohio State running backs coach Tony Alford, leaving for the Michigan job, according to Football Scoop and according to, where does Pete Thamel work for? Is he the New York Times? Is he SI? I lose track. Oh, Pete Thamel's at ESPN now. I should have known that. Anyway, Pete Thamel also confirming what Football Scoop had reported earlier today. That's a game changer. It kind of reminds me of a year ago, if you'll remember, when Colin Simmons made his first trip to Texas in the spring of last year. While he was on his visit, the coach, and I forget the guy's name, but the coach that was recruiting him at LSU left for another job. On his visit, he found out about, and at this point, LSU was the leader for Colin Simmons. He made this visit to Texas in March, and on that date, he finds out that the coach that's recruiting him at LSU leaves to take another job. LSU filled in with a replacement. That guy's done, apparently, presumably, a pretty good job. He's doing well in recruiting. But from that moment on, nothing ever changed in regards to the momentum that Texas suddenly had with Colin Simmons. And less than 5 months later, 6 months later, he's committed to Texas. So Tony Alford going to Ohio State is hugely damaging for Ohio State because Davidson's going to make his announcement in the next 3 or 4 months. He's going to do it before he goes into his senior season. He's going to wait until he takes his official visits. Then he's going to make his announcement. The thing that Ohio State and Texas have going for them at this point is that both Alford and Tashard Choice, the top two recruiters who are recruiting him at Ohio State and Texas, respectively, until today, they've got 18 plus months of skin in the game in recruiting Jordan Davidson. They know each other's everything about those kids at this point. And that kid has told both of those coaches everything. They're almost family more than a coach-recruit relationship. Again, by the time they're done, it will be 2+ years of relationship that Davidson will have with both Tony Alford and Tashard Choice. He loves them both. Texas and Ohio State are this close. Ohio State is ahead one day. Texas is ahead the next day. The single biggest connection to Ohio State that Jordan Davidson has just walked out the door to Michigan. And it will leave a mark. Can Ohio State overcome that? Maybe. But my opinion is that relationships matter. Period. And it remains to be seen what Ohio State does to get Jordan Davidson. Maybe this is a bridge that can be forged and you can fix this. But what I can tell you is that Ohio State, whoever they hire, unless they hire Tashard Choice, and if you're Texas, hey man, pay that man his money. It's time to go Rounders. Pay that man his money. Everybody, the coordinators all got their raises. It's in front of the Board of Regents. Give that man his contract. Do not mess around and lose Tashard Choice. Unless Ohio State goes after Tashard Choice, Texas is sitting pretty in that recruitment for the nation's #1 running back for the rest of the recruiting process. Unless Ohio State goes out, his top 2 coaches are Choice and Alford. Unless you're somehow make Tony Alford change. By the way, he's leaving Ohio State for Michigan? Damn, Ryan Day. You just got punked like that? Okay, I digress. For a moment, it was impossible not to stop and think about the reality that Ohio State just lost their running back coach to Michigan, which, if Harbaugh was still there, it would make sense. But now, I guess it tells you where he thinks the most job security sits. But unless they go out and get Tony Alford, I think this is a big event for Texas. It absolutely reminds me of what happened with Colin Simmons a year ago. And Texas ends up running away from LSU in that battle. Now against Ohio State, for a kid in California, the details matter. These little things matter. And I think this is huge for Texas. Now, will Tony Alford potentially look at Michigan? Maybe. But Michigan's not the school it's not the school. I wonder if Jordan Davidson is wildly confused today. Because, look, if Jordan Davidson worships Zeke Elliott, Zeke Elliott is his guy. Favorite running back, patterns his game after him. He worships the guy. That's his dude. And if your number 1 school or 1B or 1A, whatever day it is Ohio State, that means you're probably an Ohio State fan, right? At least to some degree. I'm guessing Jordan Davidson has watched Ohio State and Michigan play the last couple of years, and at the very least, roots for Ohio State to win the game. He can't be a complete neutral if Zeke Elliott's his favorite running back and Ohio State is maybe the school that he ends up at. Now he's going to look at Michigan? College football is just something else. And maybe, but that's a brand new seed being planted in Jordan Davison's mind, if possible. And what Texas now has going for it is all the way up to the finish line. It will have been a 24-month pursuit. Plus, it will be the comfort of knowing this guy versus learning about a guy, whoever it is that Ohio State replaces Alford with. Texas has got the high position. And I feel a lot better about my future cast at Texas than I did 48 hours ago when the national guys at Rivals were like, psst, hey, man, Ohio State, just so you know. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. If you're Texas, thank you, Tony Alford. You may have made that a lot easier for the Longhorns to get the running back that they prefer more than anybody else. Real quick, Tracy Jackson asks, has a third school popped up? Not really. I mean, there are other schools that he's looking at. I tell you what, give me a second. Let me go to Rivals. I'll find that article. It just came out like a couple of days ago, maybe even yesterday. Here it is right here. 5-star running back Jordan Davidson updates his recruitment. I'll give you the other schools. There's no true number 3. There's a 1A and a 1B, and then you've got Oregon, Alabama, Georgia, and A&M. Those would be the schools. He's visiting Alabama on March 23rd. He's visiting Ohio State on March 27th. He may go on his unofficial visit on March 27th and like meet for the first time the guy that would be his coach, and Ohio State's got to figure that out fast. And then he's coming to Texas on April 6th. So Alabama's probably number 3, but they're a distant third. No Michigan among that list of schools. So if it's going to happen, I don't know. This feels like we'll see. Look, if he goes to Michigan, then Texas was never getting that kid. If he were to follow Tony Alford to Michigan And out of nowhere, a school that he probably has rooted against for the last few seasons, at the very least. Again, Elliott's his favorite player. So how far back are we going where Zeke Elliott is playing at Ohio State since this kid was 10 years old, 9 years old? So I don't know. This could be a death blow for Ohio State. I'm guessing that Tony Alford has told this kid that he was going to be at Ohio State and you could take his word for it, and he's not going anywhere, and now he's going to Michigan. Again, if he follows that dude to Michigan, then Texas just didn't have a chance, and we all read this wrong. There's no way, though, this move occurs and it doesn't do a little bit of damage both to Ohio State and Michigan and Alford at that point. It just kind of is what it is. Shookwin says he's ours. Running back coach dipped on him. He did. There's no way to get around that. He dipped on everybody, man. This is worse than when Kevin Durant joined the Warriors. Michigan is beat up on Ohio State. They're hated rivals for the last couple of years. They've kept Ohio State from doing the thing that all these dudes that went to Ohio State went to do, compete for a national championship. Michigan keeps punking them. And you know that the message in the Ohio State building is, God, Michigan, their asses, ours, man. F Michigan. We got to get Michigan. We're all in. We got to do this thing. We can't go 3-4 years without beating Michigan. Right, coach? Yeah, man, right. F Michigan. Then he leaves and takes a little bit more cash. Or, I mean, someone said it in the chat. He didn't even get an upgrade of a job. Yeah, here it is. Hunter's like, not even getting a promotion and going to that big of a rival is crazy. It is. Okay. So that's the big news in recruiting today. Sometimes it's the little things in a recruitment like this that in 5-6 months from now, we'll have forgotten about them. We'll talk about the official visits that they go in. And to me, this is a landmark day in Jordan Davidson's recruitment. And if the same thing had happened to Texas, maybe that's the best way to look at this. If Tashard Choice had just left to take the Michigan job, what would we think about Texas's chances? We would say that was a nuclear blast to the ability to get that kid. And you'd say, hey, we're Texas and we recruit the hell out of modern day, so maybe we'll still get him. Maybe. But deep down, you'd know. You would. It's like turning the ball over 3 times in a quarter. I mean, you might still win the game, but we know. You know, it's like, we know. It's hard to overcome something like that. I think this is the equivalent of the 3 interceptions in the first half or the first quarter. It's the Tony Romo game, right? Anybody that's ever been a Cowboys fan goes back to the Romo days. We've all seen that first quarter when Romo will throw 3 interceptions. And then he'll be nearly perfect. By the way, my dog says hello. He'll be nearly perfect for the next 3 quarters. And they'll come, it is close. They'll lose 31-28. It's like, oh, had you not thrown the ball into the other team's hands 3 times in the first quarter, we might have won that game. While I figure out what's going on with Fido, a.k.a. Lizzie, my Weimaraner, that, I just heard her. She shook her coat. She's pissed. Somebody just had the audacity to come to my front door. Those bastards. Amazon, how dare you? While I go figure out what's going on with my dog and maybe need to put her in a quiet place so that doesn't happen again, let's hear a little message from the guys at AV Consultations, knowing that when we come back, we're talking about the Aggies. Yeah, we are.
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. Today's home electronics can be a bit daunting. My company has spent the last 36 years making sure they are not. For those of you who have not experienced our services yet, we'd like to invite you to give us a try for all your home electronics needs. We carry all the major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And we come to you. There's no need to leave your home to find great pricing and incomparable service. No traffic, inexperienced sales geeks, or pushy showroom tactics. We believe in having some fun and dreaming big. You have a dream for your home entertainment? Let us know. We can make it come true. And we are always there to help after the job is done. We cultivate clients for a lifetime by treating everyone like their family. No, not those family members. I'm talking about the ones you actually like. So relax, hug your kids, make love to your wife, and smile. Then, when you have a moment, give us a call at 255-8678. That's 512-255-8678. Or online at avconsultations.com.
I still cannot believe that man said, hug your kids and make love to your wife. And then call them up. Okay. Thank you for permission. What is it about Nebraska and the Aggies? What is it about Nebraska athletic directors that the Aggies just can't get enough of? Because the Aggies today, and it's being reported just about everywhere, so I think TexAgs broke the scoop, so good job, Billy Lucci. Trev Alberts is going to be the new Texas A&M athletic director. Nebraska Trev Alberts. Former Nebraska All-American Trev Alberts, who's only been at Nebraska for 2 years. And if I'm not mistaken, and you'll forgive me, I have not memorized Trev Alberts' post-ESPN resume. But I'm pretty sure he was the athletic director at Nebraska Omaha. And then Nebraska hired him because, and Text Guy 2, I hope that's tongue-in-cheek, because Nebraska has been killing it. Have they? Has Nebraska been killing it? I missed that. They hired Trev Alberts because he was their guy. And the idea was that he'd go to Nebraska Omaha and learn how to be an athletic director, right? Okay, go there, learn, the ups and downs of what it takes to be an AD. The job came open, and they hired him after he'd spent a couple of seasons in single A ball and double A. He's been there 2 years. I don't get it. I don't get it. If you're Texas A&M, other than the fact that Trev Alberts hates Texas, and maybe that's enough if you're an Aggie, man, we got to find us an athletic director who hates Texas as much as we do. Trev Alberts hates Texas. Let's go get him. Where is he? He's at Nebraska. Okay, let's go get him. What has Trev Alberts done that would make Texas A&M? Look, maybe he'll do great. I don't know, but I don't get it. And if you're Trev Alberts, you just sold your soul. You're a Nebraska guy through and through. They groomed you for that job. Matt Rule comes in, presumably, okay, football's on the rebound. Before Trev Alberts could even build a reputation for anything as an AD, Texas A&M has gone in and scooped him up. He's got no resume. There's nothing to look at and go, oh, look, he's killed it. Now, I would say Nebraska's doing a good job in NIL. Is that Trev Alberts? Is Trev Alberts responsible for, because I can remember Nebraska fans being gassed up about NIL before Trev Alberts got there. I'm trying to think of something. If you're Texas A&M, has NIL been your problem? The one thing A&M has going for it is they got alums that want to give kids money. Like, they got that. If any AD that takes that job shows up with a fan base that's like, here's our money, give it to some kids. So I don't get it. I don't get it. Congrats, A&M. You know, look, AD hires are AD hires. It's like hiring a nerd. It's like, oh, you can only get so excited. But I can remember when Texas hired Chris Del Conte, they knew what they were getting. The day that Del Conte comes to Texas, he came with one really huge reputation. He is a fundraising son of a gun. And you know what? Since he's been at Texas, he has been a fundraising son of a gun. And he proved it for years and years and years. And I've always said about Del Conte, because there are some things that he's done on the job that I'm a little, if I'm being completely honest. But he's so good as a fundraiser that he could almost make any mistake. He hired the wrong basketball coach. So what? What's that? Sarkisian goes 0 for 54. We got to fire him. You're not getting rid of the AD. Why? Because that dude fundraises like a mother. So Del Conte, you knew what you were getting in Del Conte. And he had a reputation for being a guy that hires good coaches. Like, Del Conte came from TCU with a resume and a big-time rep. And when Texas hired him, they knew what they were getting. Trev Alberts just doesn't have that. And I can only imagine what A&M has to pay him. I mean, damn. You thought it was rough that Tony Alford left Ohio State for Michigan. They've groomed Trev Alberts to be the AD. They gave him the job. They gave him the support to make a hire in Matt Rule. That's not him. That's the institution deciding we'll do anything. We'll pay whatever it takes. We'll give Rule whatever he needs. That's not like some AD swinging a big stick and making it happen. So I don't know. I'm dumbfounded because Nebraska fans have to, everybody at Nebraska, that entire state, his state, has to be wondering, what the fuck just happened? How? Why? Anybody see this? And you know what? You know he's going to take people from Nebraska to A&M. That's like, it's like when a head coach makes his hires. He's got to come in and bring in his people. Whew. Hey, here's what I would tell you. If you know a Nebraska fan, any of them, you're like real friends, don't even call today. Don't text them. Don't mess with them. The feelings have to be raw today. The quickest way to get cursed out today, all of you, is if you think today is the day to mess with your Nebraska friends. This sucks for them. And not because I even think Trev Alberts is any good at his job. He's there. The prodigal son came home. It's as if the prodigal son came home, ate a meal, and left. Sorry about that whole being away for 10 years, Ma, but thanks for the chicken fried steak and the mashed potatoes. I'll see you again in another 10. And if you're an A&M fan, I just don't even know what to tell you. You got an AD with a name. I mean, we all know Trev Alberts. I thought you guys, the Aggies out there watching this video, once they hear that I decided to talk about their AD hire, you guys hate Trev Alberts. I've seen the receipts. Billy Lucci, when he was, somebody posted him over at Orange Bloods. That's how I know this. Billy Lucci, not a fan. Called him let me see if I can find it quickly so I can read what Luch wrote about Trev Alberts. And I don't say this, look, I got into my own trouble a couple of years ago when it looked like Texas was going to hire Urban Meyer, and people started going through my receipts and they were like, look at all this shit that Ketch said about Urban Meyer. Here's what Luch wrote about Trev Alberts. This is this in 2004? Dude, Texas stuff go all the way back to 2004? This is what Luch said about Trev Alberts 20 years ago almost. Trev Alberts is my least favorite ESPN personality. I try not to worry too much about anything that piece of crap says or does. Most of the things he said were right on the money, but he took shots at us on Friday night during their high school highlights. Was unprofessional and completely unwarranted. Somebody needs to remind that boob that he was a complete bust as a professional football player. Okay. Then there's this from 2002. It says, send this message. This is from Lucci. Send this message to Trev Alberts' email if you get the chance. Trev is a complete moron who simply likes the sound of his own voice. It goes on from there. I don't read that out to call out Billy because I've come to love Billy Lucci. I do. I don't care what any of you say. I like Billy. But I read that out because if I'm an A&M fan today, why did we just hire Trev Alberts? Why? Don't we hate that guy? What would that be the equivalent of? I'll ask everybody in the Specs chat. Who's the guy that hates Texas the most in the media right now? Is there an obvious guy? Oh, it's the play-by-play guy that works with, oh God. Come on, guys. Somebody say it in the chat for me. The guy that loves Oklahoma. Come on. It's not, he works with Spencer Tillman. Somebody tell me who it is. It's driving me. I can see his picture. And nobody will say it in the chat. All right. Now it's bothering me. And so until someone says it, I got to do like Spencer Tillman TV partner. It's going to drive me crazy until Brando, thank you. This would be the equivalent. And now once one of you say it, like 19 of you say it. Thank you very much, Chad Parker, Sark after Hunter King. I give you all love. This would be the equivalent if Chris Del Conte took whatever job, right? This would be the equivalent of Texas hiring Tim Brando, which is funny. It's all kinds of messed up to think about. Imagine all of the years that you've spent hating Tim Brando because he always had some shit to say about Texas that drove you crazy. And then imagine you hired him. He's the AD. Yay. So I'm just talking out loud, Aggies. It may have been a great hire. It's blown my mind today. And I don't know how that happened. And I'm sure Aggies will start explaining it to me that it turns out he's the most dynamic young AD in the country. Okay. If you say so. All that work he got done at Omaha, Nebraska, or Nebraska, Omaha, or I don't know, whatever Liberty Mutual Fund it is, where remember that back in the day when we watched the Mutual Omaha people and they'd go out on the safaris and they'd put it on TV and it seemed like it was in black and white, or maybe it was just a black and white TV I watched it on, but I digress. Congrats, Aggies. You got your guy, I guess. Real quick, let me tell everybody, I got one more thing that I want to get into today, and then I'll bid you guys farewell, in part because I've ordered barbecue today at Corkscrew Barbecue. What is it, Spring? I forget where the hell it's like Old Town something. I'm on my way when the show's over today, though. pre-ordered and everything. Mwah! Some of the best barbecue in the state of Texas. But first, I do need to tell you about Prime Shrimp. Not the best lead-in to Prime Shrimp when I tell everybody that I'm going to get barbecue. But look, I spent a bunch more money on this barbecue than what I will spend on dinner tonight on Prime Shrimp. Go to the website, primeshrimp.com. Check out what they've got. They've got like 8 different types of shrimp right now. It's affordable, $13 or less for every meal. It's easy to make, and it tastes fantastic. It does. It really does. I've talked to a number of Orange Bloods subscribers that have bought tons and tons of Prime Shrimp, and they always say the same thing. It's pretty freaking fantastic. Let it be pretty fantastic for you. Get more than 6 orders, and you get 30% off the entire order. It is Orange Bloods 30 is the promo code. Make sure you use that, Orange Bloods 30, but buy 6 or more packages, and it's like you're getting meals for free. And the best kind of meal is one that's free. If it's free, I'll take 3, right? There it is, primeshrimp.com. Go to the website. Seriously, check it out. Okay, final thing that I wanted to get into. Bravo, Texas women's basketball team. I'm kind of amazed at those women that they lost their best player. That Rory Harmon got hurt when they were undefeated early in the season. Former Orange Bloods athlete Rory Harmon, back when she was a freshman, I think we were her first NIL deal, if I'm not mistaken. To lose her and to win 30 games and to win the Big 12 tournament championship and to put yourself into a position, they're going to be the 2 seed out west, and they're going to be in the USC region. And if those 2 teams meet in a regional final, it is going to be a battle. But they're not going to get a number 1 seed, all because USC beat Stanford in the Pac-12 tournament. And look, fair deal. That beating Stanford, no easy trick. They pulled it, give them the number 1 seed. If Texas was going to be the number 1 seed, they'd be getting USC in their region. So these 2 teams seem like they've been destined to match up for a couple of weeks now. But I can't say enough about the Texas women's basketball team. And you wonder, you hate to think that an injury has been a blessing in disguise, because I don't think you'd quite go that far. But Madison Booker, freshman of the year in the Big 12, co-Big 12 player of the year, probably freshman, first-team freshman All-American, and maybe freshman of the year across the country. She's had to take over so much responsibility with Harmon out that now she's just one of the best players in the country, period. Full stop. And in a year from now, when they get Rory back, they have a chance. Texas could legitimately go undefeated next year. If all the pieces come into place, and they could have gone undefeated this year. They're 30-4. I think the 4 games they've lost are by a combined 13 points. Add Rory Harmon to this team, and you can make a strong case. They're undefeated right now. It would be them and South Carolina undefeated throughout the entire season. So I don't think it's a huge leap to say that Texas getting back what would have been a first-team All-America level player and Rory Harmon, their best player, maybe the best point guard in America, adding her to this team makes it a championship caliber team. They're a championship caliber team right now, which is mind-boggling. So I wanted to end the show saying, Texas women's basketball team, I see you. We see you. Just an incredible job by Vic Schaefer and this entire Texas women's basketball program. To lose Rory and it not define your season is nothing short of a basketball miracle. And every single one of you involved in the program deserve an absolute attaboy. Someone said that somebody needs to hire Ben. Come on, Ben. You're coming in late, but coming in strong. CDC needs to hire Vic to coach the men's team too. This would be a can of worms to open up right before I go off. Terry's not done a bad job. Whatever, Rodney and Terry, we will know in 2 weeks, in 4 days. Not even that long. I guess we'll know in 11 days how good Rodney Terry was this season. Because if Rodney Terry gets to the Sweet 16, and Texas is good enough to do it, that's 2 games where the backcourt gets hot, where Asmus gets hot. Let's say Asmus has a 2-game stretch where he's sensational, and he can definitely do that. If you get Tyrese Hunter, he goes nuclear once every 5 or 6 games. It kind of is what it is. I'm not giving him a compliment, but he's a guy that goes into these, he has a huge performance, and then he'll disappear for a couple of games. If on the second round game, on the opening weekend, if Asmus and Hunter both play well together, they'll probably win that game. Maybe probably is too strong of a word, given that it could be a 1 or a 2 seed. But they can win that type of game if Dessou plays well and the backcourt plays well. They just don't get that every night. It's actually been an okay Texas basketball season. It's not been great. It's not been terrible either, though. It's been okay. Now, okay is not what anybody wants Texas to be in any program in any season. But if they get into the tournament and win 2 games and make the Sweet 16, it's the only thing anybody's going to remember historically. And this season will then have been a success. Because you can go 30-4 like the Texas women's basketball team just did and win the conference tournament. And if you don't make it to the Sweet 16, you failed. Your season was a failure. And coaches hate that. And players hate that. But they know. They know the stakes. They know what you have to do. Texas women know if we don't get to the Sweet 16, that's the only thing that people will remember us for. Texas men, same situation. So I know it's easy to kind of clown on Rodney Terry. He's not who I would have hired. But it's not been a bad season. It's been an okay season. And if they make it to the Sweet 16, then this will have been a successful season. And we'll say it's only the second time in half a generation of basketball that the Longhorns have pulled that off. It doesn't happen all the time, so don't easily dismiss it and say, Catch, you're wrong. No, we'll remember those games in January. Central Florida forever, baby. No, we won't. No, we won't. And the reason why I know this, because I remember 1997 when Tom Penders pulled that off. And they didn't even play a number 2 seed. They got to play a 15 seed that beat a 2 seed. They beat 2 teams that were double-digit seeds, and they got into the Sweet 16. And it's one of the, for a long time until Rick Barnes ran the stretch of, 6 out of 8 seasons that he did. It was remembered and still is as like one of the great Texas basketball runs. They won 2 games. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I got to get on over to Corkscrew, pick up some brisket and some jalapeno cheddar sausage. Thanks for being with me today. Ended up being a good crowd. If you missed anything, we talked about the portal. We talked about Tony Alford leaving Ohio State, going to Michigan, and how that should set Texas up really well for the recruitment of Jordan Addison. A lot of things sprinkled into today's show as I ran solo. Thanks to everybody in the Specs chat that helped hold it down for me. Guys, hit that thumbs up button. Smash it. Right now, smash it. Smash that bitch. Smash the thumbs up button. Get notifications. Subscribe to the channel. Do all of those things. And we'll do this again, actually a little bit later on this afternoon. Sukamel and I will do a recruiting hour. And I'll be back tomorrow. And Wes, if you're still out there, I see that I forgot about you today. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow.